It's June 29th, 2023, and I'm showing the plan for this post frame building. Earlier, the only thing that I had done on this post frame building was up to this point in the model, just showing the framing, the foundation, etc. Well, now I have the metal panels modeled in, and I've also got the plan modeled in, which is, we'll go through it page by page, okay? So let's go back to the model, and I'll talk a little about these metal panels. Down here on the very bottom is a rodent guard. I looked on the Metal Mart website and found that they make a rodent guard because if you can imagine, this building is going to be for maybe for food storage in some sort. And so if you can imagine the mice and the rats or whatever insects trying to get up between those ribs and into the building, well, that's what this special piece they make at Metal Guard is for. Metal Mart is the rodent guard, okay? And it goes all the way around the building because the building's going to be a little bit above the grade or the dirt, okay? I got the double door modeled in here. I'm not exactly sure how this grade is going to go right now, but it doesn't really matter. This grade might not be the most accurate representation. So the thing to know is that the door sits on the slab. So let me turn this door off right here. So if the door sits on the slab. So whether we have the slab higher or lower, that'll all be figured out once we start building it. Okay. And these windows, I just modeled them in just in case the client wants them. If he doesn't want the windows, we don't have to put the windows in. We can just frame through and do metal panels, but it might be pretty dark in there without any windows. Another thing I've seen is they put the clear panels up here, so then windows aren't necessary, but I just drew the windows in anyway because we're getting ready to send this plan off to the engineer, and I wanted him to see how I'm planning on doing the window headers. Okay. So one more thing about the metal panels is, since we're going to have this 2-foot roof overhang, I've drawn this soffit in like it's going to go. I'm just planning on using the metal panels. And it didn't quite draw out exactly the way I wanted it to, just with this geometry. I'm not super familiar working with these J channels and these other little metal profiles, so it looks a little bit dirty, and I would never build it like this. Let me show you exactly how this detail is going to turn out that I've built before. So as I mentioned, years ago I had recited this whole barn right here. This is how it looked before. This is from my client's neighbor. This is how it looked before, just falling to pieces and all that old tin on it. So then we went in, did a lot of structural stuff on the inside, pulled it back into level, got the roof sag out, and this is what the roof looked like afterwards. So just straight, beautiful. This is the soffit detail that I'm planning to replicate on this particular post frame building in question. And this is the colors they chose. In my model, I chose red, but it doesn't have to be red. Color's not my choice. I just did that just because most barns are red. Okay. And this is how I got the roof on. Luckily, our roof isn't so steep. I think this was like a 7 or an 812. Our roof is going to be a 412, which would be much easier to put the roof panels on. And this is me when I was tearing the panels off, the old, and reframing, putting the fascia on the bar drafters, getting that overhang framed in, keep the water off the wall. Now this right here, see, I couldn't really draw this as pretty as it's going to turn out, but this is how it's going to turn out. There's nothing wrong with this. This is clean. This is how I'm going to bend that metal around there, around those returns. This shows the corner coming up in, shows the J channel. The pieces all terminate into J channel. This is a little bit bigger piece that gets ordered separately. This one comes down and gets cut in like this, so it all laps. So when the water gets on it, it falls down. Okay, so when we're looking at the model, that's how it looks, and it's a little bit dirty right there, but I just don't have the time to sit there and play with it and make it 100% perfect when I already know that it's going to turn out like that, because that's how I've finished it off before. And the nice straight walls there, the nice straight soffit overhang, that's what we're going for. Okay, so then I'll have this metal cap on there, and of course I would never leave it like this. I would fold it down over here so the bugs and insects and stuff don't get in, but just I can't draw that, and that's not what I'm trying to do here. I'm not trying to draw. I'm just is just for illustration purposes. Okay, so other than that, having this model is going to give us a really good idea when it comes time to order our pieces. Like even for this stuff right here, you know how they make that double J channel, it's like an F channel or something. I've got all that drawn in. So when we go to do our quantities, our takeoff for the metal, then we know pretty much exactly what size panels to get for the wall and exactly what size roof panels to get. And then we'll just order these panels a little bit longer and cut them down on the angle. But the model is what's going to guide us through when it's time to do the metal purchase. Okay. So additionally, with having the panels modeled in, then I'm able to now develop the 2D plan for the engineer. So this is page 1. I've developed an 8-page plan, 3, 4. Okay, there's my 8 pages, and we'll go through these. And this is what's going to get submitted to the engineer. And then once he engineers this, then we can build it. Okay. So here's page 1. Let's get up to 100% view. I just put some little notes on here. And I did a footing schedule. I'm thinking we're going to be a 24-inch width, 10-inch thickness. That's pretty standard, and it shows my rebar. I'm thinking that's what it's going to be, okay? But if I'm wrong, then I've included a note over here for the engineer. Engineer to specify concrete mix for footings and foundations. Engineer to specify lap length for rebar. Engineer to specify spot footing sizes and thickness under floor posts. Engineer to verify footing and foundation table. So if the engineer doesn't like the way what I'm calling out for the footers and the foundation wall, then he can change it for us. And then because I'm not qualified, I'm not an engineer, but this is just kind of something I've seen before. So he's going to put his stamp on this, and then once we have it stamped, we know it's good to be built. Okay. So let's go over here and let's kind of look around this plan. The dashed line just shows the footing, and then the other line is the foundation. This is showing my anchor bolts. I've got the measurements, what the building's supposed to come out to, and let's see, what else do I have on this page? It just shows that part of it's the existing foundation. It shows the spot footers, the beam pocket. Okay. So on the next page, page 2 shows the floor joists. I'm just telling the engineer that we want 11 7/8 joists, 16 on center. He's going to tell me what size they need to be and what series. Okay. He's going to tell me about the beam, the girder beam for the center of the joists. And he's going to tell us about the threaded rod and the epoxy connection for when we anchor our posts to the foundation. Okay. Then I've got a little section over here. So he's going to understand what's going on with this. The old foundation's right here. And we want to build our new foundation outside of that a little bit higher so that my new floor floats over that, because in the picture it looks all fine and dandy, like I can just rest the floor on the old foundation. But I know from my experience that those old foundations are not level, and I'm not going to sit there and mess around with the old foundation when I know it's not level. So we're just going to build above it. And on the mid span, it's going to be held up by this new wood beam and this wood post. And the anchor that I want to use is the Simpson post base. So once the engineer sees all that, if he has a different anchor in mind, then he can call it out and we can change it. Okay, let's look at the next page. I think I went the wrong way. So now I'm on page 3, and this just shows the floor plan, which there's really nothing to this floor plan. It just shows, if I can, oh, I better stop moving my cursor like that. Okay, sorry, I'm having difficulty zooming on this. Be patient with me. All right, let's go to the next page. So the floor plan, it just shows that where the windows are, just basically they're centered, and shows where the door is. And again, as I say, if those windows aren't going to get put in, it's not a problem. They can be framed over. Now let's look at the next page. This is my roof plan. And I'm just telling the engineer that they're going to be subfascia, 24-inch overhang, purlins on the roof, 24-inch on center. So all these little notes I've put on showing that there's going to be trusses, and then my truss bracing. So that's the roof plan. The next plan is, let me see, let me move this little thing out of the way. The next thing is, this is a section. Okay, so it shows if the building was cut on the inside, this would be what it would look like on the inside. I'm showing my wind bracing, my purlins, these are my panels, my knee bracing, trusses, everything right here. So he shouldn't have a question on how we're planning on building this. He just needs to specify certain things that I'm asking for, like up here, if he just looks at the red, then he'll tell us all things like our nail patterns on the girts and information about the 3-ply posts and things like that. Okay, so let's look at the next page. And then here's another section of the building cut the other way. And this shows more of the wind bracing and shows the girts and how the trusses go. Let's look up here. See, so the trusses are sitting on top of the posts, and then they're anchored in that way. And the knee braces. Planning on a 2x8 window header. So, and that shows how the building goes on top of the, I'm not going to say on top of the floor, because actually the posts sit on the foundation and the floor is basically framed around the posts, just like it's shown here. Okay. And this is the new slab. It's going to be poured on top of the old slab up to the height of the wooden subfloor. Okay. So the building come out to about 13'2" from the foundation to the top of the wall. He'll kind of need to know that information. And I'm showing these intermediate wall stabilizers notched into the wind bracing. All this information is on the plan. And here's my elevations. There's not a lot of information needed from these elevations, but here's the height of the building to the peak. It'll be less than 20 feet. And here's the other elevation. So the side elevations are the same. So there's the plan that I drew for the engineer, the post frame building. It's out of my hands now. All I have to do is have the client submit it to the engineer and just wait on him. And then once we get the stamp, then we can go ahead and build it. So I hope you've enjoyed the video. I hope it's been informative, and I hope it gets you up to speed on how I'm planning to approach this build. So thank you for watching.